Liam Davenport, a young CEO, 29, at the peak of his career, intelligent, decisive, but perhaps a bit lonely and under a lot of pressure. And then, the woman who entered his life was none other than Isabella Rossi, 49 years old, his mother's best friend and confidant for many years, a charming, successful, sophisticated woman who has known Liam since he was a little boy. At first, it was just admiration, advice, understanding, but then a forbidden spark suddenly ignited between them. An intense attraction going against all social norms, all rules about the 20-year age gap, and especially the sacred relationship with his mother, his best friend. The spiral of a secret love full of passion, but also filled with guilt. We will witness Liam's fierce internal struggle between his burning desire for Isabella and his terrible guilt towards his mother. Will he risk everything, his career, his reputation, his family, for a love that society may condemn? How will Isabella cope with the betrayal of her friendship and the fear of judgment? What will happen when her mother discovers the shocking truth? Can this twisted love survive the storm, or will it destroy everything? If you're curious about a complicated, twisted love story that explores the fine lines of morality and emotion, then this is a must-listen. Liam Davenport, at 29, is already a formidable name in the New York tech world. He is the CEO of Momentum Dynamics, a software company he co-founded and took to new heights with his razor-sharp intelligence, boundless ambition, and a work schedule so demanding that it leaves little room for personal life. His office, located on the top floor of a modern glass tower in Midtown Manhattan, reflects him. Orderly to the point of coldness, focused on efficiency and growth numbers. Pressure is the air he breathes every day, and solitude seems to be the price of early success. His relationship with his mother, Eleanor Davenport, a prominent philanthropist and influential figure in the social world New York, complicated. He loved his mother, respected her, but also felt a hidden control, an invisible expectation weighing on his shoulders. Their weekly phone calls often revolved around his work, the social events she wanted him to attend, and the occasional advice about his almost non-existent personal life. "You need to be more balanced, Liam," she would say, her voice dripping with meaning. Not far away, in the elegant and refined space of a contemporary art gallery in Chelsea, Isabella Rossi was entertaining a demanding collector with her charming smile and deep understanding of art. At 49, Isabella was the embodiment of success, independence, and timeless beauty. Divorced years earlier, she had built this prestigious gallery on her own, becoming a respected name in the art world. She is intelligent, sophisticated, and has a warmth and understanding of life that only those who have been through it all can have. Isabella and Eleanor Davenport have been best friends since college. Their friendship has endured through thick and thin, and Isabella is almost an unofficial member of the Davenport family. She has known Liam since he was a shy blonde boy hiding behind his mother's back. She has always loved Liam, seeing him as a smart, talented nephew, if sometimes aloof and difficult to understand. Occasionally, at Eleanor's request, she meets with Liam to give him advice on taste or social behavior, things Eleanor believes her son lacks. Liam often calls her respectfully, but somewhat distantly, Aunt Isabella. The event that sends them into a completely different orbit begins with a request from Eleanor. She is preparing for a big charity ball at her house and wants to redecorate part of the garden in a more modern style. The landscape architect came up with several options, but Eleanor was still not satisfied. "Isabella, you have the best eye for aesthetics I know," Eleanor said over the phone. "Can you come over this weekend and help me? And by the way, Liam will be there. He's been so stressed lately. It might be nice to have you there to talk to him." Isabella smiled in agreement. She liked Eleanor and worried about Liam in an auntie way. That weekend, she went to the Davenports' mansion on the Upper East Side. Eleanor was busy with the event planner, and Liam, who seemed unhappy that his mother had forced him to be there, was sitting alone in the garden with his tablet, looking pensive. Isabella walked over, carrying a cup of herbal tea. "Saving the world again, kid," she teased softly, a term of endearment she had used for Liam since he was a child. Liam looked up, frowning slightly at her presence, but then relaxed a little. "Hey, Aunt Isabella. Just work." He glanced at the garden plan on the table. "I really don't understand why you're making such a fuss about it." "Oh, that's your mother," Isabella laughed, sitting down across from him. But sometimes a change of scenery can change the mood. She began to look at the plans, making subtle comments about composition, lighting, and suitable plants. Liam, who had listened indifferently at first, was drawn in by Isabella's insight and her visual expressions. She talked not only about aesthetics, but also about emotions, about how space affects the human soul, things he rarely thought about. Their conversation gradually moved from the garden to Liam's work, then to the pressures he was facing. Isabella listened attentively, without judgment, asking only open-ended questions that made Liam feel like he could share things he usually kept to himself for the first time. He talked about the loneliness at the top, about the fear of failure, about the feeling of being in a constant race without knowing where the real destination was. Isabella looked at the young man in front of her, smart, talented, but also hurt and tired. She no longer saw him as little Liam. She saw a man struggling with himself. With her warmth and life experience, she offered gentle advice, different perspectives on success and happiness. As they were talking, a sudden gust of wind blew, blowing the papers on the table. They both hastily reached out to grab each other. Their hands touched. A slight but distinct current ran through their bodies. They both looked up, their eyes meeting. In that moment, time seemed to stop. Liam looked deep into Isabella's warm, intelligent brown eyes, seeing a mature charm, a deep understanding that he had never seen in any woman. Isabella was also surprised by the intense, emotional look in Liam's blue eyes, seeing a masculine appeal and a secret desire that she could not explain. They hastily pulled their hands back, their faces slightly red, trying to hide their confusion. That moment only lasted a few seconds, but it was enough to sow in both of their hearts a new, unexpected, and dangerous seed of emotion. They tried to return to the conversation about the garden, but the atmosphere had become strange. There was an awkwardness and a clear awareness of something that had just awakened. Both Liam and Isabella tried to deny it, dismiss it as a misunderstanding, as completely inappropriate, as impossible. But the first spark has been ignited. After that fateful afternoon in the Davenport garden, a subtle but undeniable change has crept into Liam and Isabella's relationship. They try to return to their old aunt-niece roles, but the awareness of their newly awakened attraction complicates every interaction. They avoid looking directly into each other's eyes for too long. The usual intimate gestures now have a different meaning, and the silences between them are no longer as comfortable as before, but contain an underlying tension. But the attraction is hard to control. They begin to find, or accidentally create, reasons to meet, to talk privately without Eleanor. Liam might drop by Isabella's gallery after work, claiming to want to find a piece of art for his new office. Isabella might call Liam to ask for his opinion on a technology issue for her gallery. These meetings, initially just business, quickly turned into deeper conversations about life, about her inner thoughts. Liam became increasingly attracted to Isabella. He admired her independence, intelligence, refined aesthetic taste, and the way she faced life with calmness and confidence. With her, he felt understood, able to be himself, free from the pressure of always appearing strong and perfect as a young CEO. Her mature charm, warmth, and life experience gave him a sense of security and attraction that he had never known. Isabella also could not deny the strong attraction of Liam. His intelligence, ambition, youthful energy, and even the sensitivity and vulnerability hidden behind his cold exterior made her heart flutter in an unexpected way. She felt young again when she was with him, seeing life with more color and excitement. But along with that came guilt and fear. He was her best friend's son, 20 years younger than her. This relationship was taboo, going against all social norms. The final boundary was broken late one evening. Liam had just had a terrible day at work, an important deal falling through at the last minute. He felt frustrated, exhausted, and utterly alone. Instead of going home to an empty apartment, he drove to Isabella's gallery just before closing time. She was surprised to see him appear with a dispirited expression, but invited him in anyway. They sat quietly in the quiet space of the gallery, the warm yellow light illuminating the artworks. Liam opened up completely for the first time, telling Isabella about his failures, about the pressure, about his feelings of helplessness. Isabella just listened silently, placing her hand on his shoulder comfortingly. The wordless understanding, the physical closeness, and the overwhelming emotions had erased all barriers. When Liam looked up at Isabella, his eyes were filled with gratitude and an unconcealed longing. He slowly leaned toward her. Isabella closed her eyes, her heart pounding wildly. Their first kiss was passionate and intense, as if releasing all the pent-up emotions, but also tinged with the bitterness of guilt and uncertainty about the future. After that night, they could not turn back. They plunged into a secret love affair, full of passion, but also filled with anxiety. Secret dates in hidden places, hidden messages, hasty touches when no one was watching. They tried to keep a normal appearance in front of Eleanor and everyone else, but the happiness in their eyes and smiles could not be completely hidden. However, having to live in secret was a burden. Liam felt terrible guilt every time he faced his mother. He loved Isabella passionately, but the image of how his mother would suffer if she knew kept haunting him. The inner torment made him irritable, moody, sometimes affecting his work. Isabella also lived in fear. She was afraid of losing her precious friendship with Eleanor, afraid of society's judgment, afraid that one day Liam would realize the age gap and leave her. She felt like she was walking on a tightrope. Every step was full of danger. Eleanor, with the sensitivity of a mother and the insight of an experienced woman, began to notice unusual signs. Her son was recently losing focus. His mood was erratic. Her best friend Isabella often avoided three-way meetings, seemed more distant than before. She felt that something was wrong between the two people she loved the most, but could not imagine how terrible the truth was. She began to pay more attention. Her probing questions became more and more frequent, making Liam and Isabella more and more tense and afraid. Their secret was on the verge of bursting at any moment. The fragile bubble of secrets finally had to burst, and it burst in the most painful way. Eleanor, after days of feeling uneasy and suspicious about her son's strange changes and her best friend's evasive attitude, decided to do something she had never done before: go to Isabella's apartment unannounced one weekend evening, hoping to have a frank talk with her friend to clear up her doubts. When she used the spare key, which Isabella had given her a long time ago, to open the door of the luxurious apartment in the West Village, the scene that greeted her eyes left her speechless. The living room was dark, except for the faint light coming from the bedroom. And from the bedroom came soft laughter, laughter that she recognized all too clearly. Isabella's voice, and the voice of Liam, her son. Eleanor's heart stopped beating. She stood frozen in the middle of the living room, feeling as if the ground beneath her feet was collapsing. All her doubts, all her vague worries were now confirmed by a harsh truth, 1,000 times more cruel than anything she could have imagined. Her son and her best friend. No way. At that moment, the bedroom door opened. Liam and Isabella walked out, hand in hand, smiles still lingering on their faces after some intimate moment. When they saw Eleanor standing there, her face pale with shock and pain, their smiles disappeared, replaced by utter horror and confusion. "Mom/Eleanor," they both exclaimed, their voices filled with panic. The air seemed to thicken. The silence was heavy and more terrifying than any scolding. Eleanor stared at the two people she loved the most, her eyes slowly filling with tears, then turning into a look of deep hurt and disappointment. The feeling of being betrayed by both her own son and her lifelong best friend was like two knives stabbing straight into her heart. "You two? How are you going to explain this?" Eleanor's voice trembled, trying to hold back her sobs. Liam and Isabella stood there, speechless. All the lies and cover-ups were meaningless before this stark and painful truth. Liam tried to step closer to his mother, wanting to explain, wanting to apologize, But Eleanor stepped back, her eyes looking at him strangely. "Don't come near me," she said, her voice cold. Then she turned to Isabella, her longtime friend, her eyes filled with pain. "And you, Isabella, how did I trust you? Liam is my son. You know that." The confrontation was not fought with screams, but with heavy silence, with silent tears rolling down Eleanor's cheeks, with the broken look of betrayal. It was a storm of emotions more devastating than any argument. Eleanor didn't want to hear any more explanations. She turned and walked quickly out of Isabella's apartment, leaving Liam and Isabella standing there, drowning in guilt, grief, and irreparable brokenness. The aftermath of that fateful night spread like an oil slick. Eleanor and Liam's mother-son relationship was frozen. Eleanor refused to see or answer her son's phone calls. Her 30-year friendship with Isabella was completely broken. Rumors of a scandalous affair between the young CEO and an older woman, who is also his mother's best friend, begin to circulate in New York's upper class, though no one dares to speak openly in front of them. Liam's image is affected to some extent, and some business partners are more reserved. Liam and Isabella are thrown into the eye of the storm. Their love, already fraught with difficulties while still in secret, now faces its greatest challenge: the breakdown of close relationships and the judgment of society. Will this love be strong enough to weather the storm, or will these heartbreaking consequences tear them apart forever? After the night of the secret breaking out, a heavy silence covers the lives of all three. Eleanor withdraws into her pain and disappointment, cutting off all contact with Isabella and communicating with Liam only through short, cold messages related to work or mandatory family events. A close friendship of many years is broken in bitterness. The mother-son relationship became so distant that it almost froze. Liam and Isabella also went through a real crisis. Guilt tormented them endlessly. The initial passion was now tinged with sadness and insecurity. They looked back at their love, wondering if it was worth the breakup of the most important relationships, the pain caused to the mother, the friend they both loved. Liam was in torment. He loved Isabella. That love was real and deep. With her, he found peace, understanding, and strength to face the pressure of work. But the image of his mother suffering, her disappointed eyes, haunted him endlessly. He faced a difficult choice: continue a love that was opposed by the whole world, at least his mother's world, or give up love to try to mend the relationship with his mother, return to the image of a good son, a model CEO. This is the time for him to truly grow up, to decide what is most important for his own happiness, no longer just living up to the expectations of others. Isabella also faces an equally intense internal struggle. She loses her best friend, who has been with her through so many ups and downs. She has to deal with gossip, even if it is only behind her back, an implicit judgment about the age gap. She loves Liam, loves his energy and sincere feelings, but she also fears that she is being selfish, holding a young man in a relationship full of difficulties and prejudices. Is she strong enough to face it all with him? Will this love really bring lasting happiness to both of them? After weeks of thinking, tormenting and honest but tearful conversations, Liam and Isabella have made their decision. They realize that their love for each other is too great, too real to give up. They can't go back to the way things were. They can't erase what happened. What they can do is face the consequences in a mature way and take responsibility for their choices. Liam decides to talk to his mother directly again. This time, he doesn't just apologize. He explains how deeply he loves Isabella, how she changed his life, helping him find the balance and meaning he's always been looking for. He expresses his pain at hurting his mother, but also affirms that Isabella is the woman he loves and wants to spend his life with. He doesn't ask for her forgiveness or immediate acceptance, but he wants her to understand that this is the choice of his heart, the choice he believes is right for his happiness. Isabella also writes a long letter to Eleanor, not to make excuses, but to express her deep regret for the pain she caused her best friend, for the way things turned out. She affirms her sincere love for Liam and wishes to make up for the hurt, even though she knows that their friendship may never be the same again. Eleanor's reaction remains a mystery. She may never fully accept the relationship, But perhaps time and the unconditional love of her son will help her ease some of the pain so that there can be a certain truce, although there is still a distance. Liam and Isabella decided to make their relationship public in a discreet but clear way. They are no longer secretive, but not ostentatious either. They accept the curious looks, the gossip, and face them with calmness and love for each other. They know that the road ahead will not be easy. There will always be prejudice and challenges, but they choose to stay together building a future based on sincere love, respect, and commitment. The final scene, probably a few months later, Liam and Isabella are attending an art event at her gallery. They stand next to each other, hand in hand, exchanging loving and understanding glances. They are no longer young CEO and mother's best friend, but simply two people who have bravely overcome all barriers to find each other and choose love. The inner struggle may not be completely over. The wounds may not be completely healed, but they have found the strength in their love to face everything, together continuing to write their own story, a story of love that overcomes age, prejudice, and even painful mistakes. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this story. If you like this content, don't forget to click like, share this story with your friends and family, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more meaningful stories.